Good morning. As Christina said, Pastor Travis is down in the Apache Nation, so he asked me if I would fill in as we continue our externally focused life series. And again, just a reminder, there's nothing happening tonight, so you could come here, but you can't get in, so just don't try. So you've got your little test in front of you. I think about a year ago, I think Melody said, you always know when Jeremy's talking because it's a fill-in-the-blank test that you get. I love fill-in-the-blank. It's an easy test. I'm a bad test taker. The answers are on the screen. You can look at your neighbor. All kinds of cheating encouraged. And you can fill in the blanks. It's just fun. So we are going to be talking about the F in life today. And first, I was thinking about it, and getting a series like this is nice because it's put together by someone who knows what they're doing and has the time to work on it, and you get basically everything you need from it. It's up to you to make it your own, and that's a daunting task sometimes because you don't want it to feel like I'm just reading like this and then looking at you and then trying to read like this, but you also want to be true to what's been said here because it's a very good book. It's been a great few weeks that we've had of going through that. So, you try to make it what you can, and that's what I'm going to do here. So, your heart. Let's talk about your heart. Your heart will beat 115,000 times today. Just today. You know that most heart attacks happen on a Monday. And the most common day that heart attacks occur, Christmas Day. You guys are stressing too much about Christmas, I think is what it is. So, if there's a Christmas on a Monday, look out. That's what I'm saying, okay? Not this year, though. The human heart weighs less than 1 pound. A man's heart is 2 ounces heavier than a woman's heart on average. And a woman's heart beats slightly faster than a man's heart. If you were to stretch out your blood vessel system, it would extend over 60,000 miles. 60,000 miles, your blood vessel system. And I like this here. The giraffe has a lopsided heart. How would we think about that? Because their left ventricle is thicker than their right, because it has to push all the blood up their neck, up into their brain. That is very interesting. The heart is the most powerful muscle in your body, right? It's vital to life. And we're constantly reminded to take care of our heart. They tell us to exercise. They tell us to eat right. Tells us to reduce stress. You can't tell by this shirt, I do not eat right or exercise. It's been 2 or 3 years since I've exercised, I would say. But they tell us that, right? It's good to take care of your heart because you need your heart. You need it to function in your life. And the Bible has a lot to say about issues of the heart. And the externally focused life itself is all about the heart. The heart, my heart, your heart, our congregation as a whole. And so what are we doing? Are we doing things that Jesus called us to do? Okay, when we're talking about being externally focused, when we're talking about things we're learning here, are we taking it out from this place and serving others? Are we engaged in God's story? We're going to be in Matthew 25, verses 14 through 30. You can open up your Bibles or pull out your phones, however you want to do it there. We're going to be talking about what's the word I'm looking for? The master and his servants, where he gave them some money. So I'm just going to read this to you. You can follow along. This is the Message version. Matthew 25, 14 through 30. It's also like a man going off on an extended trip. He called his servants together and delegated responsibilities. To one he gave $5,000, to another $2,000, and to a third $1,000, depending on their abilities. Then he left. Right off, the first servant went to work and doubled his master's investment. The second did the same. But the man with the single $1,000 dug a hole and buried his master's money. After a long absence, the master returned to settle up with the men. The one with the $5,000 showed him how he had doubled his investment. His master commended him. Good work. You did your job well. From now on, be my partner. The servant with the $2,000 showed how he had also doubled his master's investment. His master commended him. Good work. You did your job. From now on, be my partner. The servant given $1,000 said, Master, I know you have high standards and hate careless ways, that you demand the best and make no allowances for error. I was afraid I might disappoint you, so I found a good hiding place and secured your money. Here it is, safe and sound, down to the last cent. The master was furious. That's a terrible way to live. It's criminal to live cautiously like that. If you knew I was after the best, why did you do less than the least? The least you could have done would have been to invest the sum with the bankers, where at least it would have gotten a little interest. Take the 1,000 and give it to the one who risked the most. And get rid of this play it safe, who won't go out on a limb. Throw him out into the utter darkness. What did the less than the least? In my day job, working for the Grand Junction Symphony, my job title is marketing director, but it's a small nonprofit. You have to do a million things. So I also do a lot of the financials for the organization. And we don't have a lot of money, but what we do is we invest money in different banks around town, because the hope is that if a bank sees that we gave them $500, they'll turn around and give us $10,000, right? Makes sense. So we spread it around. We put it in CDs and things like that just to show a little goodwill towards them. I found last year that one bank, I'm not going to say which bank it is, we gained about $1.50 in interest each month, but it cost us $15 a month in service charges at this bank. So we lost money investing at this bank. So be wary of banks and service charges. So why did the third servant fail? What did he do? He played it safe, right? He didn't want to step out of his comfort zone. He didn't put forth any effort. There was no energy expended on his part. The only energy was digging a hole. It's literally all it did. And then remembering where that money was, right, so he could get it back. Maybe he was planning on doing something. Maybe he had great plans for this money, but he forgot, or he got nervous, or whatever it was. He also listened to his fears, okay? He says in here, he was worried about what might happen with his master. He was afraid of using what he had. That money was, yes, it was his master's, but it was also his to do with what he could, okay? So he could have tried. He could have invested. You know, investments don't always work out. But there's a point that he said about being too cautious in life. Maybe he was afraid of what people might think. Okay, the other two guys doubled their investments. We don't know how long it took them to double their investments. We don't know if they were much more savvy than he was. But maybe he was afraid of what they would think or other people. We are a part of that same story. 2 Corinthians 5:10 says, "For we must all appear before the judgment seat of Christ, that each one may receive what is due him for the things done while in the body, whether good or bad." And that's what we're working through. That's the externally focused life. And we're doing that as a church, of course. And Jesus is calling us to use what we have intelligently in all aspects of our life. L is our loves. There it is over there. That's an L. Passions, experiences, what you do like, what you care about, what you're good at. As we talked about last week with Pastor Travis, intersections, opportunities, coincidences, involvement. Today, we're talking about fortune. I was talking to Pastor Travis, and he said, "You're going to talk about fortune." I was like, "You're going to leave and make me talk about money?" I said, "No, it's not really about money today." Fortune as in your time, your abilities, your treasures, what you have to share, okay? And then eternity, which we'll be talking about, I think, next week or the week after. What are you doing for God? When you're open to seeing how you can be a part of God's story, you're inviting a few things into your life. Here we go. Point number 1, you're invited to give expression to your faith. Give expression to your faith. Does anybody try to fill in the blank before I say what it is? I always do that. I try to guess what it is, and I'm not doing very well usually. James 2:17, in the same way, faith by itself, if it is not accompanied by action, is dead. Head to heart. Okay? Sometimes the journey of 18 inches is the longest that it takes, okay? But moving your faith from a thought in your head to action in your heart, it's not just knowing the scripture, but it's applying it, okay? And for a lot of people, that's what the hardest thing is. They know what it is, they know what the scripture says, but when it comes to actually doing it, when it comes to actually serving, when it comes to actually getting out of your bubble, being uncomfortable, maybe nervous, just like the third guy, that's where we get shaken up a little bit. That's where things get hard for us. Transformation cannot happen just from the things that we stuff into our head, okay? Nothing changes just by what you know. It has to come out in your heart, in your service. God invites us to take his word in so it shows up in how we live, okay? I read a story, something about, I think it was just a cartoon I saw on Facebook, and it was something about a businessman wanting to put a Jesus fish on the back of his truck so everyone knew that he was a Christian company. And a friend of his said to him, should it just be in how you're living? Shouldn't they see that in you, in how you operate your business and how you operate yourself? I thought that was a good example of that. Point number 2, all right, you invite others to see beyond you. You invite others to see beyond you. Matthew 5:16, in the same way, let your light shine before men, that they may see your good deeds and praise your Father in heaven. Good deeds create goodwill. As we always say, actions speak louder than words. If you're out serving 100% of the time, you're going to be asked why you're doing it. Why are you out doing this? And that opens the door, just like Pastor Travis talked about last week. It opens the door to how you are going to minister to somebody. Somebody might take that opportunity to invite someone to accept Christ right on the spot. Some of you might take that opportunity to just ask if you can pray for them. Some of you might take that opportunity to say, I'm going to pray for you. It depends on where you are in your comfort level and how you approach outreach. But it also doesn't mean that you should always do this or that, or you should always jump all the way to the end. There's a way that you stretch yourself where if you always say to yourself, oh, I'll pray for you, that's great, I'm going to pray for you, and then you get home and what do? Usually you don't pray for them. If you're that kind of person, I'm kind of like that, maybe you step this way and you pray for them right when you're there, when they're asking you what you're doing, and they're open to hearing about what it is that you have going on in your life. Authenticity, okay? Others want Christians to be real people of real faith in a real world. Okay, we've got like cultural icons. Think about like Bono from U2. Okay, he's a guy who's always serving. He's always got humanitarian missions, and it's seen, it's visible, obviously, because he's a celebrity. But he's using that for good, and we don't have that kind of influence in our lives. But it's an example that our culture grabs onto because they see that. Even recently, talk about Kanye West. Right? Nobody knows for sure what's going on with Kanye, right? It's encouraging. It really is. Is it authentic? We don't know. We're not to judge him for that, okay? But he's using what he has. He's using the resources, his time, his abilities to tell people about Christ. The album is not very good. If you have listened to it, I did not like it. Troy loved it. No, it's not. I tried it. Maybe it's just because I know it's Kanye, I don't like it, but I don't know. Anyway, yeah, you can try and listen to it if you want. But he is doing great things. The other thing that I think about is, when are people looking for him to fall? When is the world going to say, oh, he did this, he should have done this, that's a Christian, and then we get lumped into, everyone is like that, okay? So, of course, be praying for Kanye, because if it's as authentic as it seems, and as we know it to be, hopefully, it's wonderful. Because that's what we want. We want that kind of influence outside of just the influence that we have. The biggest thing about it, of course, is that God gets the credit. And even he's saying that all the time. You might talk to somebody who says, I don't believe in God. I don't believe in God just yet, but I'm open to what you're doing in his name, okay? I see the value in what you're doing. I don't understand it, but I am open to it. Number 3, you are invited to see past yourself. To see past yourself. 1 Timothy 6:18, command them to do good, to be rich in good deeds, and to be generous and willing to share. In this way they will lay up treasure for themselves as a firm foundation. Move beyond the self-centered, self-serving focus. The only way to ensure you're not self-centered is to serve. It's the only way that you can assure that. Moves you past your past, okay? Takes you past your past. Mental health experts discovered after a major tragedy, instead of finding people who were extremely depressed, they were relatively mentally healthy as a result of helping others. Okay? So they're almost looking for that, but because they served others, because they got in and looked for those around you, those that needed help, they're actually pretty healthy in that. Living up to our potential, finding and fulfilling what God has created in you through giving it away. Okay? Doesn't help us any, just like our knowledge of the Bible in our head doesn't help us any to hold on to it, doesn't help us any to hold on to the things we've been given, the time, the abilities that we have. Use them. Send them out from this place and serve people around you. We are most like Jesus when we serve. Right? Serving touches the heart of God. We know that. We feel good. We know God loves it. We know He feels good when we do that. And that, in turn, that's pretty good. I'm just rolling along here. I said to Emily this morning, she said, you might have to wave if you're going too long. I said, no, you're going to have to go like this. Like, just keep going. You're all right. Number 4, you invite God to say, well done. Okay? Matthew 25:21. Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. Okay? So, well done personally. Blessings in our own lives when we serve, whatever that looks like. Okay? God is pleased with us just like we're pleased with our children when they do well. All right? Friday at the Junction High School football game, Caleb had a big play right to start the game off. She's not happy at all, right? See? Yeah, it was not. She's so pleased with him. It was so great. I love seeing that. When Hallie, my daughter, who will be 8 in a couple weeks, when she first started school, she goes to Independence Academy, and they don't have a lunchroom. So we packed her lunch every day and a couple of snacks. And she would come home from school pretty hungry every time. And we said, are you eating your lunch? Are you eating your snacks? She said, I'm eating my lunch. She said, but sometimes my friends don't have snacks, and I give my snacks to my friends. And talk about touching your heart. You know, you want your child to eat because she's skinny as a rail as it is. But the fact that her heart said, I need to make sure my friend has a snack, that sticks with me. You know, that's something that's serving her friends in a way that I don't know if I ever did that, you know. I can't remember an instance where I offered something in school to a friend. It's been a long time, but it's possible that I did. So personally, we've got those blessings. Corporately, when we talk about our church, it creates the kind of church that we want to be, okay? We do it for our love of God and our love of others. Life is too short for us not to be the church we were created to be. And I think that's the point in what this study is saying to us. You know, it's all well and good to hear things every Sunday and to take it in and have Sunday be our everything feels good and things are great day. And but unless we apply it, unless we send it out from this place, it's not doing anything. We're not doing what God asked us to do. We're not part of the Great Commission if our Great Commission is getting up on Sunday and coming into this church building and that's it. Okay? If we're chopping apart what that means and not going out into the world. And so, like I said, this is a short marathon message. Marathon Days on Sunday. So, at the bottom of your sheet, you don't need to fill it out now, but take it home with you and think about these 2 questions. What is God urging you to do in your life? If you've been here for most of the Sundays as we're going through this study and you're thinking about what being externally focused means, what does that mean to you? Because you can read the book and you can hear the message on Sunday morning and you can come to the Sunday night gathering, but the point of the book is to be externally focused. The point of the book is to get outside of yourself, outside of your own skin, and serve those around you. And serving is so many different things. You know, Pastor Travis talked about, we don't need to reinvent the wheel when it comes to serving. There are churches in town that are doing great things in service. We are doing great things in service. It doesn't mean that we have to do the exact thing that a church is doing and call it Connection Churches this or that. Jump on board with them. Find somebody you know that goes to another church that's already serving somewhere and serve with them. It's easy because it's established. Second thing, what should you be doing with your time, abilities, resources, and opportunities that you've been given? Okay, I'm guilty of this myself. I have a day job. I do work for the church. I have another side hustle, as they say now, and I have another side hustle where so I have 4 jobs, technically. And I was like, man, that's a lot of jobs. But when I'm sitting at home on the couch watching TV for far too long in the evenings, I say, I do have time. Yeah, I've got young kids. Yeah, I've got a job. Yeah, I have a wife. I have all those things. But doesn't mean that I have booked every single minute of my day with everything that I'm doing. I can find the time. It's just making a point to do that. Okay? So, that's all I've got. So I'm going to pray, and we're going to have one more song. And Pastor Travis says that I'm happy to. If somebody would like to pray, I'll be down over here. But just think about that. Think about the way, 2 things. Think about the way that you know that you serve. Think about the way that you have always served, in whatever capacity that means for you. And think about taking another step away from it and stretching yourself. Thinking about how you serve and think about how you could serve differently. That's a scary part to me. You know, I know what I can do well. I know what things I'm happy doing, what things I know work well. Why not try something different? Why not try working in the kids' church? It scares me even to say that. I've been working with kids that are not my own kids. That's quite a stretch. And of course, that's still in the church. But it's a blessing to those kids to see different people in there. It's a blessing to those kids to hear from people. And maybe those kids will take it out from where they're in their kids' church and give a snack to their friend. So let's pray. And we'll go right into the song. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for your blessings in our lives, for the fortunes we have in our lives, our abilities, our time, our resources. And I just pray that we would just use those for you. Because you gave them to us. You gave us those abilities. You gave us those resources. And the only thing that makes sense, the only thing that we should be doing is turning around and blessing others around us in service. And so I just pray that as we go through this week, we look for those opportunities. And we don't pass them by when we say, I don't think that was the opportunity. Because God's going to give you an opportunity to serve him. And then you're going to just look at it and you passed it by and you're going to feel like crap because you should have taken the opportunity. There's countless times in my life where I think that was what you wanted me to do. And then he says later, yeah, that was exactly what I wanted you to do. You were just looking for it in a different way. So we thank you so much for your blessings. We thank you so much for every person in this community, in our family, in our church family. And I just pray blessings as we go out from this place. In your name, amen.